Hello, my name is Alexander Morari, and I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia. This is yet another podcast with a Central Eastern European startup that is in pre-Series A stage. And our guest today is Mihails Scepanskis, the co-founder of CENOS. CENOS reinvents engineering simulation for mass adoption. And I can foresee this will be a this will be a highbrow product by highbrow people, as a matter of fact. Labrit, right? That's how you said this in.
Yeah, it's very good.
Good. So let's just jump at round number one, solution. In a very short nutshell, or small nutshell, explain what the company is working on and how did they manage to put together 3 PhDs to work on a very scientifically advanced and definitely not a mass kind of or popular, very much popular topic for new startup companies. And let me just start with one thing. CENOS is actually an abbreviation which is unfolded as Connecting Engineering Open Source, CENOS.
Yeah, that's true. So actually, I'm a PhD in physics myself, and I was doing science and engineering for more than 10 years in academia, and what I have been doing, I was doing simulation. So simulation is actually the technology which allows to replace physical prototyping and testing of industrial stuff or processes with a computer simulation. Basically, that it's pretty simple. Instead of just going to lab and physically test your machine or some process, let's say, for example, antenna, how it propagates, you can do that in computer without building the hardware. That saves up to 80% of design time and costs. And I was doing that for more than 10 years in academia. Was working with different companies, projects, mostly with the bigger companies. And over that time, I recognized that something changed, market changed. Actually, small and medium-sized companies also want to digitize their design process, and that was the market demand which was recognized by me and my co-founders. Actually, we want to democratize engineering. So if traditionally it's like only for 1% of engineers, only for specially educated so-called simulation engineers, we really believe that there is a need to turn it to mass adoption, to make it literally available and accessible to every engineer in the world, including production engineers, including engineers in small companies, and just democratize technology. This is what CENOS is about democratization, engineering simulation. We really believe that it make a huge impact, because like whether it's car or spoon, actually it should be designed, it should be tested, and then manufacturing. And even manufacturing machines and processes goes the same path, like design, testing, manufacturing, they go back and forth. And its entire world of industrial design and production, our civilization actually heavily depend on. And that's a lot of inefficiencies and back and forth in the process. At the end of the day, we have a lot of pollutions, a lot of waste, energy consumed. And now it's just whether we go back in Stone Age we don't want, or we non-incrementally increase efficiency of manufacturing and production. And this is about digitization. It's about digitalization. And simulation actually play a very important role in that. And I believe that we bring this topic to mass, so we allow all engineers to do that. And this is our mission.
Okay, yeah, and right now I understand you focus on two groups of products, right? And this is what, antenna design and induction heating. This is what's active on your website, at least on the front end. If you could describe a little bit for a layperson why antenna design simulation a tool, a software or platform is actually democratizing simulation engineering. What's so difficult about current state, and how do you disrupt that? And I'll take it from 1.0, I understand, a state to more advanced and easier to use. So just to recap, you have antenna design and induction heating on your offering right now, yeah?
Yes, that's correct. So we have induction heating and we have antenna design. Actually, but this is just the beginning. So we pick up those two verticals because actually we recognize that the biggest problem in the market which hold back from mass adoption of simulation technology is the complexity of existing simulation software solutions. And the way how we solve this complexity is by providing vertical focused applications. So we began with induction heating, then we launched the second one, which is antenna design, but we do have the roadmap for more applications as well. And well, with induction heating, that's pretty niche thing, but quite important. So what is it about? Like, imagine every steel piece in your car or even an airplane, which is subject of load or wear, like shafts, gears, and so on. They all goes through the process of hardening. So then it's heat up, then rapidly cool down and became hard. So that process is very energy consuming, and we help our customers to design that process entirely, to design inductors, which is a part of the manufacturing process, design the process to like one of our customers, ThyssenKrupp in Germany, they just recently told me that they were able to save 1 million just in energy bills by optimizing the process using our software. And
you mean that prototyping? You mean that at the initial design, so to say, or prototyping, right? Or for mass production somehow as well? This could be used, or you're allowed to prototype sooner, cheaper, easier, right?
Yeah, well, for them it was pretty straightforward. Before they use our software, they rely on design of inductor, which is customized part in the hardening machine, which they need to customize every time they work with a new part. So they before using our software, they were relying on the R&D center. So actually, the R&D center was designing that. And that was a lot of back and forth and inefficiency. So with our software, since it's really easy to use, and this is the biggest value we provide, they were able to do that locally. Production engineer just did it without just calling R&D center and asking them. And as a result, they did multiple iterations and come up with a more efficient solution, which saved them 1 million in energy bills only for one hardening line.
And those iterations were all done in a digital dimension rather than physical. Yeah. Okay. Then if we can have a dialogue here, then who? I mean, what's the process of feeding your simulation tool with data? Who is supervising or governing this process? Clients alone, you said Thyssen, right? ThyssenKrupp. Can they do this as a self-service, or you need to guide them by the hand during the whole process?
No, it's software. We just sell them the software and they do it themselves. So
no onboarding hurdles and barriers and so on. You are just providing software that they cannot produce themselves. This is what I mean. For big, large-scale kind of enterprises, why wouldn't they create something like this for their own needs?
I'm not sure that I get your question, but actually there is, of course, onboarding process, which is a bit of education. So we train users. Typically, they do that over 1 week, so it's 3 training sessions. We train them to use software, and after that, they use that themselves.
Okay, so that's important, clear, definitely. And then, and this is a SaaS solution. You have a monthly subscriptions. Current pricing are for what, for antenna is 250, and for induction heating, what's that, 350 right now?
For professional version of induction heating, we charge 750 euros per month per user.
Okay, okay.
Basic is 400 euros per month per user. For antenna, it's antenna design. It's cheaper. It's 250 euros for professional user. This is a bit legacy price. We're going to increase that next month upon the launch of the new version of the software, which like significant progress, indicates significant progress in antenna design simulation.
And let's not avoid this incentive to subscribe now, because you mentioned somewhere on your website that if somebody subscribes now, upgrade in software will not mean increase in price as well.
This is the policy we implemented from day one. Actually, we increased our prices already several times, but that is only for new users. We really evaluate all our customers who were early on with us, and so that's why we keep that legacy price forever until they keep subscription.
And will this be 2x, 3x as a benchmark? Do you have any idea about this? I mean, well, 2x increase.
You mean the prices? So our target,
yes, price will increase.
Yeah, we target with the professional version. We actually, that's 750 euros per month in induction heating. This is our target. So we expect to reach that with antenna design as well upon maturity of the product.
Yeah, okay. What I wanted to say is that it could pay off for me to subscribe now and then transfer this to new target users, long-term users. But of course, that's a huge bet. Mihails, can you describe maybe for people who are not very much familiar with this context, who could be a typical client for antenna design and a typical client for, other than ThyssenKrupp, for induction heating?
Yeah, well, let me actually tell you about a few customers I really love. Like in antenna design, it's typically those who design and build hardware. So we have two groups now. One is IoT devices, like it's about sensors. So our users design communication part of sensors. Like sensors are installed in different locations, and it's quite important to ensure that signal they transmit to the receiving station is powerful enough, and nothing really just interrupt that. So it's for IoT devices and for space tech. I personally love actually space tech. We have one customer. It's a startup company in Spain, and they disrupt the ground stations. They actually launched the nano satellites into the low Earth orbit, and that nano satellites establish direct communication with IoT devices on the Earth.
Yeah.
And well, they did it in a very smart way, but the challenge they were facing was that their satellites are super small. It's like a picosatellites, really. It's like this size, and with this size, you are very short in energy, because the smaller size of satellites, the less solar batteries, solar panels you can store. So that's why from one side they need to ensure powerful communication with the Earth, but at the same time, they're very, very limited in the energy budget. So it was heavy task for them. They designed the antenna part. They launched it. The first time they launched this autumn, actually on November, and luckily it worked. This for antenna design. For induction heating, we work.
No, wait. And what would be the context there? So, for example, I understand this could be an industrial facility when they have a, I don't know, mesh network or something where you need to take data from this local network to some headquarter location in another country or whatever. And this nano satellite would communicate thanks to your antenna, right? Finally, would communicate with this local network in an industrial facility where it could be heavy equipment with all the distortions of the signal and so on. And then satellite picks up the signal and then can transmit to some other location somewhere like in headquarter or for stronger analysis, computer analysis and so on. Okay, clear. So this is one context, more or less.
Currently, it's like ground stations could do that, but the startup Fossa system, they disrupt that business of ground station with the satellites. It's really much cheaper to communicate through the satellites and more efficient. So they do not rely anymore on ground.
And as far as induction heating?
Well, induction heating, we typically work with automotive customers. Those who, well, there are two types of customers: those who produce induction heating equipment, machines actually, and ship them to customer, and with what we call them end users, so those who use those machines. So every time they change the part, I mean, just a new model of car arrive and they need to harden new parts, new shafts, and so on. Or even if they change supplier of steel, so they need to recalibrate, just change.
Because of the different temperature regimes and so on, yeah? Because of the, okay, clear, okay.
And every time they do that, it's a standstill of their line. Recently, one of our customers just told me that every minute that the standstill of their line cost them 15 euros every minute. So that means, but like if you want to design, something, you need to just stop that line and run multiple tests, and that's hours, if not days. And every time you do that, so you just lose money. Not speaking about some inefficiencies that might be in place just because the system might be designed not in the best way. So basically, we help them. To increase efficiency, energy efficiency, and also efficiency of it prevent material waste in mostly in automotive facilities. Although we also have a couple of other interesting niche. I like, for example, I'm not smoking, but I like that electronic cigarette technology.
Yeah, okay.
And we have customers from that industry. They manage to heat that small piece of metal with induction, which just take them a lot of energy and allow that the electronic cigarette to be more efficient, and just some other applications as well. It's pretty broad market. But actually, particularly technology in different applications. Automotive is the biggest.
I was waiting for you to mention Tesla. How come? Tesla is just one regular client of yours, right?
Tesla is not
not directly, but somebody who works for Tesla. I understand.
Yeah, well, I would love to have Tesla as a customer directly as well, but not yet, let's say. But yeah, one of our customer, it's pretty cool story. Actually, it's a small company in Germany, super smart engineers, really like 30 years of experience. But since they are small, they really struggle to attract like big names as a customers. So they came to us because Tesla asked them if they can prove that the machine they're going to design. So they're supposed to design machine for preheating of steel billets, like that's sorry, so steel sheets that still go down to stamp. And they need to design that machine, but Tesla didn't trust them that they can. And you know, this pretty expensive project, and then they want to be sure that this small guys are capable to do that. So they run multiple simulations with our software, showed the results how it will be without building machine actually.
Yeah. Okay.
And convinced Tesla. So now that that machine is installed in the production facility in California. So every time I see Tesla, I know that part of actually my company did part of that.
So the collective brain behind Tesla has already some particles of your company's brain power as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And moreover, if we take it further, this Cobes company in Germany that you mentioned, they showcase this on their website pretty openly. Induction heating, an innovative process, among other things, also mentioning, I understand, having your platform and your tool somewhere at the back end. Okay, cool, interesting. And of course, let's mention that what Tesla just opened up their gigafactory in Brandenburg, right in Berlin area, and the plan is to increase. I mean, to activate capacity of up to 500,000 cars per year, and this will also push, of course, all the EV charging stations around Europe for sure. And I'm quite sure in 5 years or so, it will be strange not to own a Tesla. If you buy a new car or similar. Interesting. Okay. How many clients do you have now? Do you have, I mean, how many paying customers? If you can share any MRR, IRR projections or current figures or benchmarks would be interesting as well.
Yeah, we have, I think, around 80 customers currently. And our revenue, annual recurrent revenue is close to $500,000. Okay,
cool. And can you mention the year-on-year delta? I mean, let's say 21 versus 20. What's the growth? Hopefully.
Yeah, well, so we're growing 2 times, a bit more than 2 times. So we did it in 2021 and then 2020 as well.
Okay. Cool.
And now we are looking forward to actually increase pace and find a way to grow faster. With the relaunch of antenna design, we really expect to have faster growth. Actually, antenna design or radio frequency in general is a huge market. It's tough, but it's pretty huge, and our technology there is pretty disruptive. So we're looking forward to relaunch the product and get really good position there.
Yeah, look, you mentioned pre-recording that the company will celebrate 5th anniversary, right? It's already a child that can firmly stand and walk and run around and shout and and attract attention, I understand. But then tell me, 80 ongoing clients, I mean current clients, doesn't surprise me as like huge number. If I want to be provocative a little bit, would you say this is your maximum capacity, or it's a very difficult sales process because of long decision-making process of your clients? Because you mentioned Thyssen, which is a huge company, of course, but then you mentioned this smaller company working with Tesla, so it could be easier. And I'm just wondering why. Seems like you can cross borders pretty easily with your platform, right? You don't have to create interfaces in local languages, exotic and so on. English is enough. And wait, do you have other languages on your website? No, just English. So basically you just went the easiest way, but again, that could have enabled you to grow quicker. I'm asking as a non-expert, of course.
Sure, and actually we will grow quicker, but we need to look a bit in the history. So you mentioned that 5 years, and it's entirely true. So we're going to celebrate 5 years of the company tomorrow. But actually, the first 2 years, we have zero revenue at all. We were heavily investing in the product, in the platform actually, and then build product on top of that, actually in technology. Our pioneer product in induction heating was launched in January 2019. So it's a bit more than, it's about 3 years in the market. Actually, no, a bit more than 2 years in the market. And that was the time that we need to acquire customers building product meanwhile. Well, yeah, you mentioned that 80 is not a big number. It is not a big number. Indeed, but this mostly goes for induction heating. So in terms of we have only few customers, you see that actually our growth is very product driven. I don't know, is it good or not, but it is so. And that's why we invest quite a lot in product mostly, and our growth in customers are aligned. Recently we raised actually seed funding, and that also allow us to scale a bit our sales team as well, sales and support team, and even more. We opened the second office in North America, in Mexico, to serve North American customers, because that is cool. So we have increasing number of customers in North America, and we expect to make even more revenue in North America from antenna design later on.
Why in Mexico? Not very often that I hear somebody opening across the sea, across the ocean in Mexico, because of the manufacturing facilities that are like nearshoring and so on.
Although we do have customers in Mexico, and that's a bit of historic move. It's accidentally, actually, we got a couple of customers in Mexico. Then I visited there once. Really, by the way, love country and food and so on. But then just we got more and more customers from Mexico. But actually, looking at our North American market, the US is the major market, and we have more customers in US. Why Mexico? First of all, well, for us, it's mostly support office and sales office. And support is quite important part. Support for us, it's not just could you switch off and on computer. No, it's like the engineers work there. And I'm
Mihails, just to interrupt you, maybe can I say that what you said, turn off and turn on? I created this, and I like to think so. A so-so rule for technical problems with computer. Again, so-so rule. Why? Switch off, switch on. Abbreviation.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, what I want to say that for us, engineering support, it's really those are engineers who help to solve customer problem. In Mexico, we found very good, talented, and the most important, motivated engineers in the big number, hardware engineers. Well, to be honest, it's hard to find such motivated engineers in US. Well, you can, of course you can, but it will cost 10 times more. So that's why that was pretty natural decision for us to land in Mexico. They all speak English very well. We partner with local university, Tec de Monterrey, which is top 25 engineering school in the world. Again,
oh, wow,
so talented engineers with a good motivation, good skills, and a good number.
So I understand somewhere between the lines you want to say that Mexico is something like a North American CEE region, where you could find goods almost I mean, big arbitrage in pricing and in like employment expenses and so on, without compromising the quality, right? As you say, Monterey University, you said top 25, right? Globally technical university. Interesting. Interesting.
No, even a bit better. So in Central Eastern Europe, actually, we live in the post-industrial world mostly, and for a lot of Eastern European countries kind of skip that industrial part. That used to be industrial part when it was part of under the Soviet influence. But then in the 90s, after Soviet economic collapse, a lot of industry gone, and well, at least for Baltic countries, I think in Poland partly as well, we are very digital nation. In Mexico, it's a bit different. For them, I think Brazil as well. So for them, engineering is still a social lift.
Okay.
So because there is a lot of industry there, so well, like US outsourced quite a lot. So it's so that's why they still perceive the engineering profession as a social lift.
Yeah, yeah.
And they also have very good schools there. Maybe because of some socialistic movement back in the 60s, which also helped them to build generation of the local engineers.
To try and create another slogan, probably it will be even more correct than the previous one. Mexico is in North American China. Yeah.
Yes, I would say so. I would say so.
Mihails, and let's move on. There's not only competition between countries and different continents, but also companies as well. Your idea, and now we are switching to round two, where we discuss competitive landscape. Yeah, your idea seems to be, you could say what, IQ intensive, should I say? Yeah. IQ intensive, right? The product is very IQ intensive. The R&D stage is pretty demanding, and that probably would create a barrier of entry for competitors, but still there are a couple. Can you mention one or two that you like to treat as your sparring partner?
For sure. So actually this space, simulation technology space, is dominated by listed companies, by the big guys. Well, it's Siemens Digital Industry Software, but then ANSYS, Altair Engineering, all of them are listed companies. But I want to probably pay your attention on some more companies. Actually, they all that I mentioned, they are heavily in the enterprise segment. We try to democratize technology, meaning that we mostly focus on SMB segment.
Yeah. Okay.
There are two actually companies who did, I would say, good job in SMB, but not for simulation, but for design, CAD technology, CAD.
Computer aided design. Yeah.
Correct. This natural partner for CAE, which is computer aided engineering, also known as simulation. So it's Autodesk. Actually, Autodesk over the last 10 years did amazing job in Fusion 360. Their product Fusion 360, they really disrupt the market in the way that small players, every engineer can use that very easily and seamlessly. But they have very little simulation. And I personally believe that we're trying to bring simulation technology or CAE to SMB market, which Autodesk before. We don't have much competition in SMB space, although we do have a competition in enterprise, and we just coincide with them in the mid-market sometimes. But mostly it's not about competing with other companies in the market. It's mostly competing with old way of doing business engineering. So it's like tries and errors with dirty hands in the laboratory.
Mhm. Would it be right to say that if your solution grows and develops and gets more and more popular with SMBs, that it's not only helping popularizing and democratizing simulation engineering, but also could motivate engineers that are not yet entrepreneurs to try and open companies based on or around your solution, just because they will be able to initiate new business lines or pivot from their current operations into simulation engineering, just because it's a little bit easier. I mean, much easier than before, and so this could motivate more people to take risk and open up a new company. What I mean is that you will not only enable a current company, but might help create more and more SMBs in this area.
I absolutely understand what you mean, and that's entirely true. So actually, I have seen that with, for example, GrabCat. It's got a social network for engineers, like the repository of design files. Yeah, and what they actually launched that repository, but they end up seeing that people, engineers, young engineers, even create companies there. I mean, they meet each other and create companies. Yeah, definitely. All this digital tool, the democratizing tools mean depreciation of experience and knowledge, and that mean more young players in the market for sure. This is what we are doing. At the same time, that all like democratizing access to tools means also creation new startups. Like for example, with that Spanish space tech startup I mentioned, right? So like all that space around satellites are booming now. There are a lot of small companies. Why? Because knowledge and tools to design new hardware doesn't cost so much anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So it's what, engineering 2.0, right? And getting closer to 3.0 at some point.
No, actually now it's industry 4.0, right? So
yeah.
generation.
Have you been playing with the new coinage of SaaS or similar, where S stands for simulation as a service? I mean, you probably tried this, right, already?
You mean in name and
yeah, like SaaS. We are SaaS, software and simulation, or SSaaS.
Never. No, we never did that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, that name, CENOS, stands for Connected Engineering Open Source. That actually indicates the key technology we have. We heavily rely on open source technology, and that also was quite important because that allow us to launch different technologies. So we do not create algorithms ourselves, but we ensure interconnectivity of different open source tools that mostly are driven by communities, also in academic communities. Just being more than 10 years in academic world, I recognize, I still believe that there is a lot of brains in academic world, but the technology they build, the algorithms they write, they just live in academic, and this is the way how to build efficient bridge from academic and science and industry.
Speaking of open source and so on, by the way, Mihails, how would you describe the defendability of startup and your IP and your product and so on and so on? Is it patentable? Probably not. And
no, software rarely is patentable. And I think this is not really something how we should protect our business. So the best, I would say, the best protection is the speed you move on, so that nobody can catch up. But in fact, we do have copyright, and our philosophy is the following: we want to keep proprietary that part of code which is responsible for infrastructure. And we want to make open source that part which is a product part. So what does that mean? That like the key value that we provide is ease of use, which is because of we focus on vertical focus. So we as a company ensure like seamless workflow, that everything is like user friendly, but we are ready to open configuration of what is input and output data and some algorithmic level which ensure the best calculation speed. And that is open source. And we also give, by the way, for academic users, for non-commercial use, we give our software for free. So we have more than 160 academic users now in the world.
So you count on them to convert it to paying clients at some point, but it's, at the same time, currently, how do they contribute to the development of the tool? Do they contribute somehow? I understand you can rely on them to test some new features, and they will not be mad at you just because they don't pay yet, and so on and so on. What's the consensus there? So you give them free. I understand it's like good, to promote academia and so on, but then I'm sure there's also a business kind of, maybe even if it's for feedback loop kind of purposes, or what else?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we still struggle to harvest that in the full capacity. But so yeah, it was initially just some sentiment towards academic roots of our academic roots, so we just gave for free. But in fact, now, yeah, we use it as a marketing tool because they spread the like awareness of our product. We also use them as a beta testers that you mentioned, but it also quite interesting. Very recently happened that two of our users, academic users, they asked if we can develop one small particular feature on top of what we have. We looked at that and said, look, guys, it's cool, but there is no market for that. So that's why, at least we believe that there is no. So that's why we don't want to invest our own resources on that. But just take API and you can do it yourself. And they did. They did a great job. I really love it. And then they did it again. Actually, the second feature, the second boundary condition, one small thing that they built, we use that we will use that in the new release. So that was really cool.
Which means you had to buy, or that was a kind of barter or something? They just agreed to contribute.
The product side is open source, and we distribute open source license. So that means that we don't sell that. We sell that infrastructure part, which enable that open source components to work. So that's why there is no legal issues there, but there's the construction which provoke contribution of other bodies, open source contributors. But they're happy. Well, they develop it for their own needs, with no purpose to sell. But as the open source community work, it's all about ego. So they're happy to share with somebody who will use it.
Yeah, and it can come back as a positive, like good karma from directions you cannot foresee. So that's your hope as well. Good. Good man, let's move on. Mihails, round number 3, quick Q&A. And here's where I like to ask founders, busy founders, for their productivity hacks. Not the tools, but the ways you do things and accomplish challenges and tasks.
No, I recently thought about this. Actually, what is my productivity hack? I didn't find much, but I believe that the best thing is just to focus on things that you really love to do, and you do the best, and then hire people to do the rest.
Okay.
Yeah, in the beginning of the start, there was a lot of hustle. There is still a lot of hustle, but I just concentrate that hustle around things that I believe I do good and that I really love to do. But I will do even if I have free time.
Yeah, I understand. Look, this is a strategic level, so to say. I focus on my best and then complement or delegate the rest to other people. Yeah. What about on everyday, like more tactical, more here and now? So, for example, for tomorrow, I understand you have a couple of dozen tasks to do and so on. How do you segregate them? How do you pick the one or two or three to focus on, or how do you decide how to make decisions among the founding team, or how to translate difficult decisions between founding team and the rest of the team in the most optimal way? Or how to hire fire? Do you have a hack for hire fire process?
I think I want to open America here, and I risk actually disappoint you here. Nothing really fancy. Well, I think it's quite important to keep in mind strategic goals, and every decision you make. It becomes super easy to make decision if you just put that together with a strategic goal, whether it's contribute that or not, whether it make you closer to your goal or not. Okay. If it's make closer, that just go ahead, and then no need to wait anymore. But it's not. It's probably you can either also outsource it or just give somebody else, or just don't do that at all. Yeah, for hiring and firing. Well, I, by the way, actually recently found one good strategy I can share. I really love it myself. For the key people, we just recently make the round of the key hires and hired some people to management positions. I really like to hire ex-founders.
Wow. Okay, that's something new. Expand, please.
Well, especially for the product managers and some other management positions. So actually, there are like companies, startups, which were built for wrong market or in wrong time. Like for example, I hired recently guy who built amazing software, but for it's a software which make prediction of the pricing for hotels based on the events around. You can imagine that since pandemic, there is no market anymore.
Yeah.
So he built amazing product. He reached some certain level of revenue, but the market hit him. So yeah, I really love, because he already went through a lot of. So first of all, he understands the product and he understands the business side. So and he is pretty eager to put his knowledge into the new product. So yeah,
and execution skills. I mean, this is something unique, to be honest. And maybe let's try and hang on this one for a second. So here's what, like you answered how. I mean, you answered what type of founder this could be. I wanted to be more direct or more straightforward that these founders are losers. I mean, losers in startup sense. Losers means somebody who failed but got the experience, got maybe more angry with own failures and weaknesses or whatever. So you get a motivated person. But how do you? I mean, how do you relegate somebody from founder mentality to employee mentality at a young company like, I mean, relatively young company like yours? So I understand you don't have yet. Or maybe you do long-term intensive programs, plans, and like options for shares, whatever, like sweat equity. Let's not cover this. Anyways, how do you? I mean, do you see any difficulties, or maybe some common issues or difficulties with converting an ex-founder into a regular team member? Should I say? I mean, regular, of course, very valuable, but not part of founding team.
Look. When I looking for somebody to cover my, let's say, VP of growth or CTO, I'm not looking for employee. I'm looking for somebody who has who will take this part over from me,
Yeah.
who will have some leadership over that. And that's why I don't see much contradiction. The only thing that I should care about is that my vision, the company vision, and the vision of this person is aligned. And this is about motivation and extensively talking to be sure that actually we're going in the same direction. I don't really see any problem in converting, like you say, founder to employee, because in the startup there is no employees. Okay, there are employees, but in the key position, top management, there are not employees. There are actually entrepreneurs, but in one team with others.
This could be as a new rule, basically. I mean, one of the new strategies for hiring for relatively small startups, try to find an ex-founder.
I don't think it's really something new. I remember myself actually in the first day in Accelerator 500 Startups. So we were part of the 500 Startups in San Francisco. And I remember actually they just told us in the very beginning, the first day, like, look around. 80% of you will fail and work for another 20%. Know your future employers.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't think it's something new. It's perhaps.
I mean, at that scale, yeah, of course, they have all the statistics to support this. Yeah.
But I also want to emphasize actually the role of investors here. How to find how to find failed startups, how to find failed founders. Just ask your investors, because they have portfolio. And actually, so that's why I'm happy to have Startup Wise guys as investor, and 500 Startup as well, because they have huge number of startups they work with, and apparently many of them failed, and they know them. So just ask them whom to hire. So I think this is the biggest value that investor can bring you in general, honestly, at least so far.
Yeah, special platforms with lots of companies on their how to say, in their platforms, yeah, like 500 or Startup Wise guys and so on. So you want to say not only good investor, I mean great investors, but also potential talent pool to tap on, yeah, to tap into. Interesting. We covered this already partially around 4 company itself. So 5-year-old baby of yours and your co-founding team, 3 PhDs, I understand. So here is a team of wisdom lovers. All of you PhDs, I understand. How many people you are right now? 30 plus, I guess?
I would say 36. 36 now.
All in one office? I mean, except Mexican sales and support team, I understand. All the rest are in one office or dispersed, remote? How many countries, cities?
We have 2 offices, as you mentioned, but our product team is partly remote. Actually, we have remote employees from contractors from Europe, so Spain, UK, Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria. Estonia.
Yeah. So with such dispersed and diversified team, how do the founders manage to maintain the culture in the company? If you discuss this already, there are companies like Decathlon, for example, this sports wear retailer and so on. So I know for a fact that if you're an excellent candidate for any technical or marketing or whatever position, but you're not passionate in sport, you will not get a job. Okay, so that's part of their values list and so on. Do you have the time, or are you strategic enough now right away to think of values and to think of culture, company culture, and then deliberately trying to maintain it and execute on a daily basis?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the same like your So you mentioned Decathlon, the same for us. So we converge to understanding that all employees, including marketing and sales, need to have some sentiments. Actually, they need to love science or engineering or
Okay.
technologies. That's
Okay.
obvious. Otherwise, they just don't have much motivation to work with us. That unite us. So we even would have some social events. You remember that when when SpaceX launched, they managed to get their first stage back. We were sitting and watching that in
Okay.
YouTube together. And
Uh,
we love to discuss that stuff around here. But about the culture, I think we were lucky because we didn't have much choice. Actually, beginning of pandemic, we were 12, and now we're 36. So we did this. We actually scaled the team 4 times during pandemic, and there was three lockdowns. Uh, so we went fully online at least 2 times. And actually, the first time, then we were 12, and we just raised some money, and we need to hire people, and we just left in lockdown in Latvia. We decided, so let's just use this opportunity and hire remotely, and it worked out pretty well. And so um, that's why that remote culture is in our DNA
okay.
already.
By the way, a couple of days back, there was a DNA day as well. I learned this for the first time. Yeah, I think
Know that.
April 23 or 24. Yeah. Okay, cool. And last question in this one about the company. Are you hiring right now? What are the most urgent or pressing positions, roles? You mentioned sales support, right?
Well, I would say we are more or less completed to this round, but we are preparing the next round of funding that will be later this year, or the latest in the beginning of next year. So that's why we are almost constantly hiring, and this is kind of transition that hit me unprepared about 1 year ago. Then then you just hire, then you work, then hire, you work, and then I found out myself just hiring every second week or so, and that was like, whoa. But when I work, but now like I understand that actually hiring is quite constant process or
Yeah.
indefinite process. So that's why, yeah, we don't have anything. I don't want to mention any urgent positions, but we are constantly hiring, especially engineering talents, junior salespeople, and so on.
Here's another question, pretty technical. You're almost 40 people right now, and you admitted yourself, like hiring process takes lots of your time, and I understand this is important for the company and so on and so on. But do you have somebody in HR function right now in the company? HR manager, business partner or something?
Yes.
Ah, you do. So why can't hiring process be autonomous from you right now? Or more autonomous, because you sound like it takes lots of your time now, right?
No, it is more autonomous already. For sales and for engineering support, I'm not involved there anymore. So my head of sales and head of engineering support, they did hiring themselves.
Okay.
They did their own decision. I do not influence that anymore. For the rest, I still conduct the last interview, and the main purpose of this interview to be sure that actually the person we hire fit the culture of the company.
The culture, the company culture, which is in your head or in writing somewhere?
Well, it's kind of dynamic thing. the more I really trust my head as well. So my feeling, yeah, I trust my feeling as well. But no, it's written, so
Okay.
it's written as well. There are, again, one thing I already mentioned to you. One thing is that love of some hardware or engineering stuff. We've just turned out that we found out that we cannot work with the people who don't have any vibration towards or resonation toward the things we do. But I have also tried to check some personal, not really skills, but character. Like for example, for developers, it's hard to work with super introvert people because our developers team and our product team are partly remote, and the more and more we do this remote hiring, and it's quite important for a remote team. It's quite important to have people who can talk to each other and want to talk to each other. So this is something that I also
more like able to initiate talks, not only react to when somebody's addressing them and so on. And then it's a dialogue. Otherwise, it's just one person is just giving, and the other person is like breaks the conversation. It's not a flow. Off the topic a little bit, as far as company culture and maybe kind of integration opportunities and so on. Yesterday, we went with my team to escape room. We were not many, we were 5. And escape room was about being on a spaceship, and we needed some source of energy, and there were 5 different rooms, 5 different like riddles and so on and so on. Amazing exercise. And I understood this could be interesting for, let's say, specific teams for sales or marketing, or maybe if you hire 3 or 4 or 5 new people, and then after 1 or 2 months of induction, and you don't know still who has the potential of team lead, or you don't know exactly what they are capable of. This more advanced or more sophisticated escape rooms could be an interesting material for manager.
We were in the escape room with my co-founders early on. That was really fun.
Okay.
So now it's like with 36 people. Well, it's probably doable, but we need to split. But no, what you said, it absolutely makes sense. Actually, that dynamic within team is very important. And the biggest team, which like act as a really team for us, is engineering support. And actually the second is sales, and they do kind of team building events pretty frequently, or even just go to bar together to discuss. I try to provoke, not really provoke that, they do that themselves, but I that's a good thing. So I also said to my head of sales and engineering, do that regularly.
Encourage, motivate, and support, and so on and so on. Mihails, interesting. Let's move on. And here's the final round 5. We call this Formula F3, funding for the future. And before future, in a couple of sentences, your funding history by today, and then we'll switch to your plans for future.
So far we raised 1.6 million euros. So the last round was seed round. So we closed at the very end of last year. It was slightly more than 1 million. That was like the first like proper round. Before that, it was series of small. You know how it's early days. Then you raise a bit, and you work, and you raise again a bit with convertibles. And so now.
But what's interesting. On your startup, investor lineup, you have what? Startup Wise Guys, you mentioned, Capitalia, 500 startups, Baltic Business Angels, and I understand some other angels as well, like Sfere Biscard, Ultis Sipols, and around 15 other investors, right, as well.
This is correct, yes. So like in the pre-seed stage, we did quite a lot of angel round. No, not quite a lot of angel, but actually we we attracted angel investors mostly, and so we did seed round as well. Startdevices and Capitalia are two seed investors, but others are angels. So Baltic angels is not like the Baltic angels; it's just the angels from Baltic states.
Yeah, I understand now. Okay.
No, but I believe that it's absolutely okay strategy for seed round. Actually that's interesting. More and more I see that that seed rounds are with angels, and I think that's okay.
And Baltic countries are great to get really valuable angels as well, right, on your board. So many companies
Especially
with big success, yeah.
especially Estonia. Yeah, we do have angels from Estonia. Like we will are also happy to have angels from so-called Pipedrive Mafia. So ex-Pipedrive employees. Yeah, so it's pretty vibrant space here, especially Estonia. But Estonian angels invest pan-Baltic. It's not like Estonia and Baltic.
It's amalgamated, yeah, we could say. Okay, interesting. Mihails, clear. And I know it's pretty early as far as utilizing all the potential and so on, but here's last, I promise, provocative questions from me, but let's try and cover this. What's your personal exit scenario for this company?
I do have the couple of hypotheses. Well, first of all, I really make it clear that I found the company not for just exit, but we have a mission. So this is in democratization of engineering simulation. And when I think about exit, not only myself, but also my co-founders, investors as well, when we think about exit, we think not only about money, but also about the impact we're doing. And that's why, yes, I do have exit plan, a strategy, but it's relying on the couple of hypotheses there, which I am testing right now. So that's why, perhaps if you allow me, I don't want to disclose like names or to whom we believe we want to sell the company. But so now it's clear that it's there will be a few years and at least one or two, most probably two funding rounds ahead to achieve the point that we want to exit. That means partner with a company which can maximize the mission, the value.
You not only didn't disappoint me, I think I was expecting an answer of this type. Thank you very much, Mihails. That's definitely something informative and educational for me. Wish you all the best and good luck to expand to more and more clients. It seems like you have a great guideline for yourself and a map to navigate, and you have the brain power, the capacity, and now the rocket fuel, let's say, to make all your plans and dreams come true. We'll be following your successes, of course. Thank you, Mihails. All the best. Good luck.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you. Thank you, and bye-bye.